On the pasuk ve'ele toldis Aaron and Moshe b'yom diber Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai. These are the offspring of Aaron and Moshe on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe in Har Sinai. Rashi quotes the words ve'ele toldis Aaron and Moshe and explains, and he says ve'enoi maskir, that the pasuk doesn't mention anything other than the children of Aaron. Says Rashi, because they're called the toldis Moshe. They're called the children of Moshe because he taught them Torah. Melamedus teaches us that anyone that teaches the child of his friend Torah, the Torah counts it for him as if he has given birth to him. Mefarshim explained the reason why this is specifically relevant to the children of Aaron, even though Moshe, of course, learned Torah with all of the Yidden, because Moshe learned Torah with the children of Aaron specifically and individually, before he learned with all the rest of the Yidden. As Rashi had brought us earlier already in the end of Parsha Sicha, the whole order of how Moshe Rabbeinu learned with the Yidden. And since Moshe Rabbeinu was not obligated in this, to give them this special teaching, and on the contrary, since he had learned already with Aaron first, so Aaron is the one that actually became obligated to teach his children, and nevertheless Moshe goes and teaches them. This is why Moshe Rabbeinu is getting this special reward, that Ma'ilol of Akasav, that the Torah is counting it as if he gave birth to them. Then Rashi goes on and quotes from the pasuk B'yoim Diber Hashem es Moshe. Rashi says, this is when they became his children, when on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, because he taught them, Shalimdon, he taught them Masha Lamad, what he learned, Mipi HaGvura, from Hashem, from the Almighty. What is Rashi coming to add with this explanation in this second Rashi? That Nasu Elu HaToldu Shaloi, that now they became his descendants because he taught them what he learned from Hashem. Seemingly, he said this exact point already in the previous Dibra Maschal, in the previous Rashi, that he taught them Torah, and this is why the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to them. So the Mefarshim explain that what was bothering Rashi was what the pasuk says, the continuation of the pasuk, where it says, B'yoim diber Hashem es Moshe, on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe. How is this the continuation or the follow-up from the Eila Toildes Aaron, that these are the children of Aaron, etc.? And this is why Rashi is explaining that B'yoim diber Hashem is not coming in continuation to the Eila Toildes Aaron. In other words, of course, they became Aaron's children when they're born, but it's coming to in continuation to the fact that we just mentioned Moshe, that these are also the offspring of Moshe. So since the children of Aaron are being called Toldos Moshe because he teaches them Torah, as Rashi had just explained in the previous Dibra Maskil, this is what the pasuk is saying further, that this idea, when does this happen? B'yoim diber Hashem es Moshe, when Hashem speaks to Moshe, because this is what Moshe Rabbeinu starts teaching the children of Aaron, what he heard, what he learned from Hashem. Now, why does the pasuk use the term B'yoim diber Hashem es Moshe? Seemingly, Moshe Rabbeinu had learned Torah with the children of Aaron, not only at the day that that Hashem spoke to Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu continued teaching them, learning with them the whole time afterwards. And on the contrary, most of Limud HaTorah, which Moshe Rabbeinu did with the Yidden, including, of course, when he learned specifically with the Bnei Aaron in a special way, all starts. Specifically, it mainly is going to start after Yom Kippur, after the third set of 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu is on the mountain, which is more than 40 days, more than 4 months from the time that Hashem spoke to Moshe on Har Sinai. So why does it say over here then the term B'yoim Diber Hashem es Moshe? So the Mefarshim explain this in two different ways. Either B'yoim Diber would mean over here like as if it said Miyoim Diber, that it all started from the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe. Like we have another pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'hanoisor b'basar u'balechem," that which is remaining from the basar and the lechem, but it says ba'basar u'balechem. So the base then could mean from. Another way that the Mefarshim explain it is that when it says biyoim, the Torah is coming to tell us that even if one taught someone else, even just one thing, it already becomes his Torah. In other words, it's just biyayim. Even if it was just on the one day that he taught him something, that's already considered Torah. Says the Rebbe, in addition to the difficulty with these answers on their own, it's also difficult to say that this is what Rashi actually means. Because number one, says the Rebbe, why does it make any difference to emphasize when it is that the children of Aaron start becoming the Toldos of Moshe by the fact that he's teaching them Torah? Why is it relevant to mention specifically when this started? Why would the Torah have to say, B'yoyim Dibra Hashem es Moshe? Number two, says the Rebbe, more importantly, Moshe was actually learning with the Yidden even before Matan Torah. Before this Yoim Dibra Hashem es Moshe B'Har Sinai. As Rashi himself explained, that in the Morah, which is before Matan Torah, he already gave them some of the parshas of the Torah to be involved with. Furthermore, even in Mitzrayim, Hashem had already given them certain dinim as discussed in Parshas Boy, which Moshe had of course told over to the Yidden and learnt with the Yidden. So why are the children of Aaron becoming Toldos Moshe only b'yom diber Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai, and not earlier than this? Says the Rebbe, it's a doichek to say, it's difficult to say, that the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu learned specifically, individually, in a special way with the children of Aaron, and that's why we said they are called Toldos Moshe, it's difficult to say that this started only the day after Yom Kippur and not earlier. In other words, this is what we say, that what the Seder Mishnah was, this order of learning, that it only started after Yom Kippur and not earlier. Why? Because whatever reason there is for this order of how the learning was done, specifically with the, generally and specifically with the Bnei Aaron, all of this would have applied also before that time that we said before, Macharas Yom Kippurim. And as it's obvious over here itself, already b'Yom Diber Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai, which is way before Yom Kippur, this is referring to Shavuos, time of Matan Torah, the 6th or the 7th of Sivan. Already then Moshe Rabbeinu was giving special attention and learning specially with Bnei Aaron, because as we're saying, this is when they become his Toldos. And therefore, says the Rebbe, it makes sense to say that even before Matan Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu was learning with them in the same sort of system as he learned later. Says the Rebbe, there are some more diyukim in Rashi, in the wording of Rashi. And to mention some. Number one, from the wording of Rashi in his first Dibra Maskul, where it says, Mailo levakosov ki'ilu yoldoi, that seems to be saying that it doesn't mean that it actually became his Toldos, it's actually his children. It's only like some sort of reward. It's counted ki'ilu yoldoi as if he gave birth to them. However, when we look in the next Rashi, Rashi says, Nasu elu, they became his Toldos, they became his offspring, they became his descendants, the descendants of Moshe. The question, says the Rebbe, is even more. The source of this Rashi is in the Gemara. Over there, the expression is Kala Malamed, someone that teaches someone else. Milo of Akasav, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him. Shenemar, as it says, brings our pasuk ve'ele Toldos Aaron u Moshe. Moshe taught them. That's why they're called by his name. And yet, Rashi adds over here to the words of the Gemara and says not only v'nikru, that they're called the Toldos of Moshe as the expression of the Gemara is, but Rashi says, so they actually become his Toldos, his offspring. A second thing that Rebbe points out is, and asks, what is the arichus haloshen? What is this whole extra elaborate expression? Shalimdon, he teaches them, ma shelomad mipi agvura, that which he learned from Hashem. Rashi could have said this very briefly, as he in fact says in the first Dibra Maskul. He could have just said, Shalimdon Torah, he taught them Torah. Even if you want to say, that since in the pasuk it says this expression, B'yoim diber Hashem es Moshe, so Rashi is also writing in accordance to that, emphasizing that he learned with them what Hashem had told him. Says that it's still not so simple and smooth. If that's the case, why is Rashi changing from the wording and seemingly even the meaning of the pasuk and says the words mashalomad that he learned? Why not mashashama, that which he heard? And why does he use the term mipi hagvura, not mipi Hashem? And why doesn't he Rashi word it more similar to the wording of the pasuk? Says the Rebbe, the explanation of all of this is that Rashi can't only suffice with a pirush of kol hamelamed ben chaveiroi Torah, someone that teaches the child of his friend Torah. The Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him, because the pasuk says over here, ve'ele Toldos Aaron u Moshe. That is, if the pasuk in fact would have just been speaking about Toldos Moshe, then we could say that the Torah is using the word Toldos the offspring, the descendants, just as a Shema Mushal. We're just using it as a borrowed term. That by teaching them Torah, the Torah counts it as if you gave birth to him. Similar to what Rashi had said something already in the pasuk by Avram, where it says, "Hanefesh asher osu b'charon," the souls that they had made in Charon. Rashi says that since Avram and Sarah had brought them in under the wings of the Shekhinah, the Torah counts it as if they made them, as if he made them. Similarly, we find Rashi saying in regards to Limudat Torah later on, he says something similar, just like in our pasuk speaking about Limudat Torah. So later on, when the pasuk says V'shinantam levanecha, so Rashi tells us Elu ha-talmidim. This refers to talmidim. We find in all places that talmidim are called children. So that would all be well if in our pasuk it just said Toldos Moshe. But in our pasuk it says Ve'ela Toldos Aharoinu Moshe. That means the pasuk is mentioning them both together as if they're equal. Ve'ela, these are the Toldos Moshe, just like they are the Toldos of Aaron. So here the question is, how could you compare how they are the Toldos of Aaron? In other words, they are their physical existence. They come from Aaron. How can you compare this to being Toldos Moshe just because he learned Torah with them? Which no matter how great and important it is, still seemingly this you can't say that it's in the same way as Toldos Aaron. In other words, that it's a chidush in their actual etzem mitzias. A child being born, this is a new mitzias. Learning Torah, fine, very nice, it's a very great thing, he learned some Torah. And seemingly the most you could say is Ma'ilol of Akasav, the Torah counts it as if you gave birth to him. So this is what Rashi is coming to tell us. Rashi learns that the pasuk, by adding the words Biyoim Diber Hashem es Moshe, is actually coming to clarify this point. This is coming to emphasize that the Torah that Moshe learned with the children of Aaron, since he learned with them what he learned mipi hagvura, as a result of this limud achieved a gevura, achieved a special strength, a special might, that nasu, they actually become his children. In other words, this type of learning actually transformed their very essence, the essence of their existence. Beruchnius. To the extent that they become Toldos Moshe. So just like physically, a child is born, this is a whole new mitzias. What the Rebbe is saying is that Rashi is saying that a result of Lamad Mipi Agvura, Moshe is causing a transformation in the very essence of their mitzias. And that's why they can be called Toldos Moshe, as we will soon elaborate on more. The Rebbe explains. As an introduction to Matan Torah, Hashem says to Moshe, he should give over to the Yidden, Va'ato, and now if you listen to my voice, Ushmartem is brisi, you keep my bris, V'yisem li'zgulam yikol ha'amim, you're going to be my treasured nation, V'atem tiyuli, you're going to be for me a mamleches koyanim, a kingdom of koyanim, of a goy kodesh, and a holy nation. That means that Matan Torah and Kabbalah Torah achieved a shinui ikri, a major change, an essential change in the very essence of the Yid. Before they were just like Kol Ha'amim, like all the nations. Through Matan Torah they became different now. They became unique. They're distinguished in the way of Skula Mikol Ha'amim. They're a treasure from amongst all the nations. They're a Mamlechas Koyanim v'Goy Kodesh. And this is why Matan Torah was in a way that Hashem had showed himself to the Yidden with, and how did he show himself? With Gevura, with might. The koilos, the lapidim, the sounds, the torches, the fire, the sound of the shofar. All of this caused a major change in the mitzias of the Yidden, and they heard the dibros as well. We say mipi hagvura. That's the expression used about Hashem. In other words, this might of Hashem that's making a major transformation in them. Says the Rebbe, since v'hiyisem li'zgula is connected with Matan Torah and dependent on ushmartem is brisi, keeping the Torah, it's understood that this power of Matan Torah to be able to cause this transformation in the very essence of the mitzias of the Yid was obviously invested in the Torah. This is because of the Torah, this could be this major transformation. Says the Rebbe, this is why Rashi is medayik, and he says, Shalom, Limdon, he teaches them, Mashalamad mipi agvura, that which he heard from Hashem, but he uses the term mipi agvura. In other words, since the Torah that he taught them, with the children of Aaron specifically, was that which he learned mipi agvura, that means Moshe Rabbeinu himself heard it and learned it from Hashem. Therefore, it has in it, in even a more revealed way, this power, this gevura of Matan Torah that has the ability to make a transformation in the mitzias of the Yid. And that's why they become his Torahs, that's why they become like his children, because this limud, this sort of learning, accomplished this spiritual birth, becoming a new Metzius. Says the Rebbe, based on this, that ve'ele toldis of Moshe is not only ki'ilu yodei, as if he gave birth to them, but it is actually similar to toldis Aaron, similar to the fact that they're Aaron's children. Because of this major transformation he makes with them, because they become his children, says the Rebbe, with this we'll now understand why the Pasuk says this specific term that we used before, biyoim, diber Hashem es Moshe, on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, and it doesn't just say miyoim, starting from the day. Says the Rebbe, just like by physical birth, we cannot say that the birth is something that keeps on happening again and again. Rather, of course, birth is something that happens in one instant, the very first moment. Afterwards, there's just the growth of the child becoming from smaller to bigger, etc. Says the Rebbe, the same thing is with this birth beruchnius. The fact that they became his toldos, that's something that's accomplished in one moment. It was on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe. By the first time that Moshe Rabbeinu learns with them, specifically with the children of Aaron, the Torah that he learns from Hashem, that's the moment of birth. Everything that he learns with them afterwards, that Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching them, Aaron afterwards, is not in a way that now they are becoming his children. Then you could say it only has the advantage of Kol HaMelamed, everyone that teaches, and any time you teach your child's friend Torah, the Torah is counting it as if you gave birth to him, as we will soon see more about that. Says the Rebbe, but according to this, we have the following question. By Matan Torah, all of the Yidden, including Bnei Aaron, heard from Hashem himself, Mipi HaGvura, the Aseres HaDibros. As they were said, first B'dibur Echad, all as one, and then they heard the two Dibros individually, Anoichi and Lo Yiyelecha. So the question then is, seemingly all of the Yidden, including Bnei Aaron, experienced already this spiritual birth by hearing the Dibros directly from Hashem, Mipi HaGvura. So how could you say that by the fact that Aaron's children are becoming Toldos Moshe, by the fact that Moshe afterwards is going to tell them over separately that which he heard Mipi HaGvura? And this is why Rashi uses the term Shalomdon, that he taught them what he learned Mipi HaGvura, which we asked before, what's the arichos of this whole expression? Says the Rebbe, because in order to accomplish really a Hilada, a birth beruchnius, through the Torah, that it's actually not enough just hearing it from the fact that they heard it from Hashem. This that the Yidden heard the Dibros from Hashem himself, that's not yet causing this transformation. In order to be that birth, the Torah has to be learned, has to be absorbed, has to be taken in a pneumistic way into the listener. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu is accomplishing when he's teaching them that which he learned, Mipi HaGvura. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu is not just telling over the 8 Dibros to the Yidden, but he's learning with them. He's teaching them the Aseres HaDibros with all the halachos and the details of the dinim. And since he learned it separately, individually, first with Bnei Aaron, so they become his toldos. Says the Rebbe, on this beer we could seemingly ask, if we would say that because Moshe Rabbeinu learns with Bnei Aaron, it's my law of Akos of Ki'ilu Yoldo, if that would be just like as a reward, so then we would be able to understand why it is that it's specifically for the Bnei Aaron that are called the Toldos Moshe, even though Moshe Rabbeinu learned with all the Yidden, because as we said before, it was specifically this limud that he's having with Bnei Aaron was considered Lefnim Mishuras Hadin. It was considered something extra that he did that he didn't need to do, and therefore there's a special reward being given. But according to the way we just explained it, that it's not only like an extra reward, but rather, Nasu Elu HaToldos, they are actually becoming his children because, since he's teaching them what he learned Mipi HaGvura from Hashem, there's actually the spiritual birth happening. So then the question is, in this seemingly there is no difference between them and the rest of the Yidden. There shouldn't be a difference whether he's obligated to learn with this other person or he's doing it Lefnim Mishuras Hadin, beyond the letter of the law. And therefore, since practically Moshe Rabbeinu did learn everything that he learned from Hashem, he taught to all the Yidden, so seemingly all of the Yidden should have this ma'ila of Nasu Toldos Moshe, that they are actually Moshe's children. So in what way are the children of Aaron different? Says the Rebbe, we can explain this. The fact that Limud HaTorah causes a change, causes such a major change, like a birth in the person learning it. So it's not mitzad, it's because of the melamed, but it's because of the Torah, that it contains this koyach hagvura, this power of Hashem. And therefore, says the Rebbe, when a person learns Torah with someone else, as we explained before, that which he learned from Hashem, he's learning it with the other person, but if it's still coming because of the obligation, so yes, it's true that it is actually causing a birth, a spiritual birth, Beruchni is by the Talmud. But who is this birth being attributed to? Who is the one that's giving birth? You can't say that that's going to the teacher. It's the Torah that's doing it. It's the Pi HaGevura, it's the Mitzvah, it's Hashem. Similar to the Makis and Mitzrayim, which are called Oisoi Hashem signs, because Moshe is doing it directly because of an order of Hashem and B'shlichus Hashem. We could say the Malama, the teacher, is getting reward for fulfilling the mitzvah of Hashem. But you can't say that he's the one giving birth to this Talmud. However, says the Rebbe, specifically when the learning Torah with the other person is coming not by what the person needs to do and commanded to do by the letter of the law, because Hashem told him to do it and by his mission. But if he is doing it on his own, lifnim mishuras hadin, he's doing it with his own initiative, then you could say that this hoylada, this giving birth, is actually attributed to him, and therefore it's considered Moshe's children. Says the Rebbe, we still need to understand. According to this, comes out that the idea of Nasu Elu HaTorah, that it becomes his offspring, so this is Shaykh, number one, only by Moshe, because he himself directly heard it mipi agvura from Hashem, and therefore when he is learning with the children of Aaron, it has the power to cause this spiritual birth. Number two, it's only on that first day, biyoim diber Hashem es Moshe, when there's the beginning of the learning, that he learned mipi agvura from Hashem with the children of Aaron. But then the question is, how can we then learn from this, which Rashi says, Kol ha-melamed is ben chaverei Torah, that anyone that teaches ben chaverei Torah, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him. Says the Rebbe, the explanation is, if we would say that this idea, that Nasu Elu HaTorah Shalei, that the one you taught becomes your child, if we would say that that's taka only Shayach by Moshe, so then what would come out is that when the Torah says, Ve'elu Torah is Aaron Moshe in this pasuk, so the Torah is only giving us over a story, something that happened one time, that it was only Shayach to Moshe, and that's it. But in Pshutei Shel Mikra, says the Rebbe, it makes much more sense to say that wherever we can, and wherever we can, we need to explain it this way, that Torah is obviously coming to give us some sort of lesson, some sort of hira. As Rashi tells us in a number of places, that a pasuk is coming, l'lamed, that's coming to teach us something, and similar expressions. And this is why Rashi says the same thing in our case. That even though it's true that to say Nasu Elu HaTorah Shaloi in the literal, mamish becoming his children, is taka only by Moshe, because he learned it directly mipi agvura from Hashem, and it's only on the day B'yoyim diber Hashem es Moshe, when he taught it, and there was that initial birth. Nevertheless, we could learn from it, and we do learn from it, that Kol ha-melamed is ben chaveiroi, that whoever teaches his child's friend, so at least he's on the level of Maila of Akasav, at least it's Ke'ilu Yolde, at least it's similar as if you gave birth to him. And that is, says the Rebbe, because every single thing in Torah that any Yid learns with Ben Chaveiri, with somebody else's child, at any time, so first of all, it was given mipi agvura. That was given from Hashem, even though maybe this Malamed didn't hear it directly mipi agvura, and even if the person you're learning with it is already by himself a lamd and he knows Torah himself, and nevertheless we say you taught it to him, so you are getting the reward keilu, as if you actually gave birth to him. The Rebbe now adds, this is in a square bracket, so the Rebbe says yesh loima, we could say that when Rashi says the words Kol ha-melamed as ben chaveiroi, doesn't say chaveiroi, so perhaps Rashi is actually hinting that this idea of mailol of akasav keilu yoldoi is actually mainly speaking about when you're learning not with a person that's completely independent and knows how to learn himself, but it's specifically speaking about ben chaveiroi, referring to a child that's at the very beginning of learning, and since it's the melamed that's causing this initial beginning of learning Torah with Ben Chaveiroi, so therefore it's a chidush, and that's why it's this concept of birth beruchnius. Continuing on, the Rebbe says, from this we can learn, b'derech agav, by the way, a biur in the great idea of oimer davar b'shem oimer, of saying over something in the name of someone else, to the extent that Chazal say that you say something over in the name of someone else, it's mevi ge'ula lo'olam. And the Rebbe explains, when someone says over an inyan in Torah in the name of someone else, what he's emphasizing over here is this idea of the Messiah in Torah, how Torah is being passed down. He got it from his Rebbe, and from this we can understand that he got it from his Rebbe generation after generation, going up all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu, who of course learned it directly from Hashem. So in this way, when you're saying over something in the name of who you heard it, you're connecting the idea of Torah that he's saying with Moshe, who learned it Mipi Gvura, and therefore you are revealing that power, the Pi Gvura, in the Torah that you're saying over. And therefore with this power, you have the koyach to cause this haylada, this idea of a birth. And furthermore, the Rebbe says, we can say, this is why maybe Geula La'olam. Because Geula is also a concept of Gevura. It's considered a matter of birth. Geula is like a birth after the Galus, as explained in a number of places. Says the Rebbe, even though al derech hapshat, we just said that the idea of kol ha'melamed is ben chaveroi, Torah. So you can't say it's mamish on the same level as by Moshe Rabbeinu, that it's considered an actual hilad, as if you mamish gave birth to him. Says the Rebbe, nevertheless, since Torah's emes says that the Torah is counting it as if you gave birth, it's understood that it's not only some sort of superficial or external comparison to something else, but that b'pnimi yisayinyan there is something being accomplished, similar to the idea of actually giving birth. How do we understand this, says the Rebbe? The Rebbe explains, we know that the punishment for bittul Torah is a very sharp expression. It says, Dvar Hashem baza, the person embarrassed, disgraced the words of Hashem, he koris to koris, chas v'shalom, a matter of the opposite of life, Rachmanu litzlan. Because the life of a Yid is connected with Torah, ki heim chareinu, Torah is our life, and therefore if a Yid separates from Torah, it's like fish separating from the water. So not learning Torah is the opposite of life. And it says the Rebbe, based on the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, that the Eibishter renews the existence, the life of every single creation, every single moment. So says the Rebbe, what follows then is that when a person is learning Torah and making sure that there's no hikares tikares, so it's not only that you're getting rid of the negative thing, you're being careful, making sure that the chayas shouldn't stop, but there's actually a certain positive thing happening over here. By learning Torah, you are causing that the Eibishter should be mechad, should give and renew the life. And therefore, says the Rebbe, when you're learning with somebody else Torah, kol ha'melamed is ben chaverei Torah. Anytime someone learns with somebody else Torah, the Torah counts it as if you gave birth to him. Because every single time you're learning, no matter when and no matter who, you're connecting this ben chaverei, this yid, with his makar of his chayis, with his life. And therefore it's ki'ilu yolde. It's as if you caused a new birth, because you caused that the Eibishter should right now give him a new chayis, that right now this ben chaverei should live in a whole renewed way.